She climbed for one last memory, but there was no way down. Some stories will stay with you forever. This is one of them. Some people chase adventure, others chase closure. Emily was chasing both. A year after losing her fiance in a climbing accident, she couldn't stop blaming herself. Every day felt the same until her best friend Kate came up with one crazy idea. Let's do something that scares you and leave the past behind. That something was an abandoned radio tower standing alone in the middle of the desert, almost 2,000 feet high. No gods, no visitors, just rust, wind, and silence. At sunrise, they reached the tower. Emily hesitated. The metal looked old. Every step made a strange creaking sound, but Kate laughed. Come on, we've come this far. So they started climbing. Higher, higher, and even higher. Hours later, they finally reached the tiny platform at the top. The view was unbelievable. The entire desert stretched beneath them like an endless ocean. For the first time in months, Emily smiled. They recorded videos, took photos, laughed together. Everything felt perfect until it was time to go down. Kate stepped onto the ladder. A loud metallic crack echoed through the air. Then, the entire ladder collapsed. It slammed into the ground hundreds of meters below. Emily froze. Kate couldn't even speak. The only way down was gone. Their phones had almost no signal. The food they packed was barely enough for a few hours. The water bottles suddenly became more valuable than gold. As the sun climbed higher, the metal platform became too hot to touch. The wind grew stronger. Every hour felt longer than the last. They tried shouting. Nobody answered. They waved pieces of clothing. Nothing. The desert below looked empty. Tiny cars passed on a distant road, but none of them looked up. Night finally arrived. The temperature dropped. The same metal that burned their hands during the day now felt freezing cold. Emily whispered, "What if nobody ever finds us?" Kate stayed silent. For the first time, she didn't have an answer. And that was when they realized something terrifying. The real battle had only just begun. The next morning, the heat returned. It felt even worse than before. Their last bottle of water was almost empty. Kate suggested saving every drop. Just one sip every few hours. Emily nodded, even though she was already dizzy. Hours passed. No helicopters, no rescue teams, nothing. Then Emily noticed something. A maintenance backpack was hanging beneath the platform. Inside, they found an old safety rope. Hope returned for a moment. Maybe they could lower one of them far enough to reach a signal. Kate volunteered immediately. Emily tied the rope around her friend as tightly as she could. Don't let go, Kate whispered. Slowly. Emily lowered her over the edge. The tower swayed with every gust of wind. Halfway down, the rope suddenly jerked. A rusty metal hook began to bend. Emily's heart almost stopped. She pulled with everything she had. After several terrifying seconds, Kate managed to climb back onto the platform. Neither of them said a word. They had just used their only chance. That night, they could barely sleep. The wind howled through the tower. Every strange sound made them think the entire structure was about to collapse. The next afternoon, a small drone appeared in the distance. Emily jumped to her feet. It's coming this way! Both of them waved their jackets and screamed as loudly as they could. For one incredible moment, the drone turned toward them. They smiled. They hugged each other. Finally, someone had seen them. But seconds later, the drone's battery died. It lost power, spun in the air, and disappeared into the desert below. Hope vanished once again. Emily sat quietly, staring at the endless horizon. Then she looked at Kate. If we stop thinking, were already gone. So they made one final plan, not because it was safe, not because it was smart, but because it was the only chance they had left. And what happened next, neither of them could have imagined. Emily looked at the backpack one last time. There was almost nothing left inside, just a small flashlight, a metal carabiner, and a cracked signal mirror. Then an idea crossed her mind. If nobody can hear us, maybe someone can see us. As the sun began to set, she aimed the mirror toward the distant highway. Again, and again, and again. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Kate lowered her head. It's over. But Emily refused to stop. One final flash of light reflected across the desert. A tiny pickup truck suddenly slowed down. Then it stopped. The driver stepped outside and looked toward the tower. Emily couldn't believe it. He sees us. The man immediately grabbed his phone. A few minutes later, they heard something neither of them thought they'd ever hear again. A helicopter. The sound grew louder, closer, closer, until it appeared above the tower. The rescue crew carefully lowered a cable. Emily insisted Kate go first. No. We leave together. One by one, they were lifted into the helicopter. As the tower disappeared beneath them, neither of them spoke. The desert looked peaceful from above. It was hard to believe that, just hours earlier, they thought they would never leave that place alive. Weeks later, Emily visited the memorial where her fiancé's name was engraved. This time, she wasn't carrying guilt. She was carrying gratitude. Some people climb to conquer fear. Others climb to escape the past. But Emily learned something far more important. Sometimes, the strongest person isn't the one who keeps climbing. It's the one who knows that every new day is another chance to keep living. And from that day on, she never wasted another sunrise.